Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 22nd of August, 2023. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So kicking off today, we have news out of the Coinbase and Circle ecosystems. So you can see here that, I guess to the surprise of no one, Coinbase and Circle have announced a few updates to USDC, and one of those updates, or I guess like the major update, is that Coinbase has taken a stake in Circle, the company. Now, the reason why I say this shouldn't necessarily be surprising is because Coinbase and Circle have worked very, very closely together on USDC for some time now. So definitely don't think that, as I said, should be a surprise to anyone. Now, they've also announced that they're going to be expanding USDC to 6 additional blockchains. They didn't specify which blockchains these were, but I think that based on an old announcement, they would include the likes of Polkadot and Cosmos and Optimism. Honestly, don't know why it kind of I don't know. I don't think it really makes sense to focus on like Polkadot and Cosmos and other ecosystems, other layer 1 ecosystems. I feel like they should really be focusing on layer 2s, and especially right now with USDC supply kind of dwindling, I really feel like they should be focusing on the ecosystems where the money actually is. But yeah, I mean, that, as I said, like this is just based on old kind of, I guess, like news, and I don't know exactly which networks they're going to be supporting, but I'm sure they're going to be supporting all the L2s generally anyway, and also you can always bridge these things to these L2s, and if there's enough demand for it, there'll be liquidity there, and you know, that'll all be good stuff there. So those are the two kind of like major updates there. You know, generally, I think when it comes to stablecoins, it's kind of a funny thing, right? Because we've had an evolution of stablecoins, specifically centralized stablecoins, over the last 12 to 18 months. I think the major kind of things have been BUSD or Binance USD being shut down by the SEC because Paxos is the issuer of that coin or of that stablecoin, and they are in the US, so they're obviously regulated by the SEC, and that was shut down because apparently Binance broke, I guess, like the terms of service or something. They were minting BUSD on a chain that they weren't allowed to mint it on, or using it on a chain they weren't allowed to use it on, or something like that. So that was shut down, and BUSD supply has gone from, I mean, if I go to CoinGecko here and go to BUSD, it was very dominant, actually. It was, its market cap was pretty high. If I'm just bringing up the market cap now on CoinGecko, yeah, its market cap was around 23 billion, and now it's down to about 3.2 billion, and obviously that'll continue to dwindle as time goes on. So that was a major shakeup. Obviously, we had all the stuff that happened with USDC, and those banks that went under, and then USDC depegged to, I think it went under 90 cents. Because of that, a lot of fear in the markets, and since then, USDC supply has been trending down. USDT or Tether, its supply trended down for a little bit, but then trended back up, and I think that its supply is basically at all-time high. It's at an $82 billion kind of market cap right now, which I think is close to all-time high. Yeah, all-time high is around 83 billion, which happened in May of 2022, and then after that, USDC supply bottomed out at around 65 billion and is now back up. So I think that USDT, not USDC, so Tether supply. So I think a lot of USDC obviously got, I guess, like converted into USDT for one reason or another. And there are a bunch of other centralized stablecoins out there, but they're definitely smaller. So those kind of three major ones, I guess, have been shaken up over the last 12 to 18 months. And it remains to be seen what happens from here, because obviously people are also pulling out money from stablecoins because they're thinking to themselves, well, if I can get like a 4 or 5% risk-free rate on my dollars, on my actual US dollars in a bank account, then what's the point of keeping it in crypto? What's the point of keeping it as a stablecoin? So I think there's been a lot of that going on as well. Obviously, no one seems to be in a rush to buy crypto right now. And I've said before that I think the crypto markets are just going to trend sideways for the rest of the year, or even a little bit down, more down from here. And then next year will be hopefully a better and more positive year. But yeah, that's kind of like the state of the centralized stablecoins right now. So I'm hopeful that Circle and Coinbase can come back here and can get USDC growth going again. I think that we'll just naturally see stablecoin growth happen in a bull market anyway, because there'll be a lot of people wanting to come on chain, and they want to be able to use dollars on chain, and it's very easy just to mint USDC on Coinbase and then obviously withdraw it to your Ethereum address or a layer 2 address and play around with it on chain there. So I definitely think that that's going to be happening in the bull market. But for now, I guess things are very quiet, as we all know. But yeah, I guess kudos to Coinbase and Circle for these updates today. All right, so a funny little kind of announcement that came out of the block yesterday, which actually ended up getting them a community notes on their tweet here. So they basically had an article that had the headline "Leaked database of 101,000 Friend.Tech users links their ETH addresses." Now, the reason why this was misleading and why they got a community notes on here is because there's no leaked database. You can view this on Etherscan. The leaked database, as I quote tweeted here, is known as the blockchain or the Ethereum blockchain, because Friend.Tech, when you sign up, you create a new address, but you need to fund that address, right? So a lot of people would have just funded it with their public address, right? That's what I did. I funded it with sassal.eth, and then you can just go on Etherscan and see that. So there's no leak here, right? And then people said, oh, well, people are linking their Twitter profiles to their addresses. It's like, yeah, but sassal.eth is already linked to me. Like, it's literally my Twitter name, and I would assume that pretty much all the people that signed up here, at least all the big name people, knew that it would all be connected, because everyone knows that the Ethereum blockchain is not private, right, and is very transparent. But yeah, calling it a leaked database just doesn't really make any sense, because anyone can go onto Etherscan and view this for themselves, right, or an Ethereum block explorer in general. Then, the reason why I bring this up is because it takes me to kind of, I guess, like the privacy stuff again. Obviously, I spoke about Friend.Tech yesterday, so I'm not going to talk about it again. But when it comes to apps like anything on chain, right, whether it be Friend.Tech or some other app, you don't have any privacy, guys. And I feel like I keep needing to reiterate this for people, because I think sometimes people forget this, in that, like, at the end of the day, these blockchains, most of them are not private. They're immutable. So I guess, like, record of your transactions or record of anything you've done is there forever. Basically, if the chain runs forever, the record is there forever. And there are obviously things you can do to protect your privacy, such as using mixers. If you're in the US, you cannot do that with Tornado Cash. But if you're outside of the US, depending where you are, actually, you could potentially still use it. There are other mixers out there as well. But outside of using on-chain mixers like Tornado Cash, people also use centralized exchanges as mixers, because when you deposit into a centralized exchange and then withdraw, it withdraws from their hot wallet. So it is used as a mixer for a lot of people. Of course, you're not going to have privacy from the centralized exchange itself. They KYC'd you and everything as well. So definitely no privacy there. But if you're trying to get privacy from people looking at your addresses on chain, that's one way to do it. Obviously, other ways are just like starting a new address, right? Just funding a new address from a centralized exchange. So there are a few different things you can do. But as I said, like, the rule of thumb is anything you do on a chain that isn't something like Monero, where it's private by default. Zcash obviously has shielded transactions, but these networks are very limited, because they're really just, you can really just only send Zcash around or Monero around. It's not like Ethereum, where you've got smart contracts and tokens and NFTs and stuff like that. Good to keep in mind that pretty much everything you do is exposed forever. And hopefully we get to a point where that's not the case, but right now, as it exists today, that is definitely the case. All right, so we are all in on Dencun testing for the next couple of months, I think. So I've gone over this a bunch of times before about how we have the Dencun devnets have been happening over the last few weeks. We're at DevNet 8 right now, and their testnets are, pretty close. Obviously, we have Holsky testnet going live on September 15th, but in terms of forking them over to Dencun, it's coming up very soon. Then you've got this, I guess, like Ethereum Cat Herders episode, Peep and EIP episode from Puja here that is premiering today, I think August 22nd. Yep, today at 18:30 UTC. It's going to have a bunch of people that are involved with testing out these things, such as Parathosh, who I've talked about a bunch of times on the refuel before. They're going to be talking about Dencun testing. So you can go check that out for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. And one other comment that I wanted to make about Dencun was that I saw Alex from Matter Labs, who have created ZK Sync, tweet today that the 4844 throughput is not going to be as the scalability is not going to be as great as people have said it is, and he used the example of it costing like 800 bytes or taking up 800 bytes or 400 bytes for a token swap on an L2, which will quickly fill up the new blob space. I feel like this was misleading, this tweet, because if a token swap on your L2 is costing 800 or even 400 bytes, then you're doing something wrong. It shouldn't be costing that much because you can compress the transactions down so much that, from what I've seen, it shouldn't be higher than 50 bytes. It should be even considerably less than that. So this is why I've said before that it depends on how the L2s operate, and that's what kind of scalability gains they're going to get from 4844, because they all have their own way of doing things like compression. They all have their own way of timing how they pay fees. Obviously, they've got different architectures between optimistic rollups and ZK rollups. So they could get a 10x improvement on their fees, or they could get a 100x improvement from 4844. It really just depends on, I guess, like what you're looking at as well. Like, is it just a simple send of Ether or token? Is it a swap? Is it an NFT mint? What kind of compression are they doing, right? Are they actually getting the most out of the scalability that they're doing at L2? Are they a roll-up, or are they kind of like using off-chain data availability and only posting a very compressed version of the data to the chain once a day or something like that? Like, there are different things here that I guess like different L2s do, and it's good to keep in mind that there's going to be these differences here. So that's why I've been saying there's a range, rather large range, between 10 to 100x in terms of scalability gains here. And it's not going to be instant either, unless these L2s are set up so that they can start taking advantage of blobs as soon as 4844 goes live. It's not going to be instant. What you're going to need to wait for is for these L2 teams to upgrade their end, whether it be on the infrastructure side or the contract side of things, in order to take advantage of the 4844 new blob style transactions. So I just wanted to clarify that for you guys there, because I saw some people talking about it in the Discord channel today. But anyway, you can go check this out, this Dencun testing video, this PPNIP video. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, you're all aware of Diva at this point, the new Ethereum staking protocol that is using DVT from day one for staking here. So they've put out a new blog post today titled Ethereum Diversity and How DVT Can Help. So if you're interested in learning more about DVT, or distributed validated technology, and how Diva is using it within their stack, this is a highly recommended read here, and I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you. But I love this. As I've said before, I love the differentiation that each of these kind of staking service providers are using. Obviously, DVT is a big one, and there's been a lot of DVT work happening over the last couple of years between Obul and SSV Network and a few other initiatives out there, and now obviously with Diva. So yeah, if you want to learn more about that, just wanted to put this on your radar. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. And another thing that I wanted to put on your radar was a great tweet thread from Bartek today, all about ZK proofs. And he says here, so if you've heard about ZK proofs, how cool they are, and how using them with Ethereum can verify computational integrity of some off-chain programs, ranging from custom apps to full-blown layer 2 ZK AVMs. But how do we know what is that program that is being verified? And Bartek runs through this little thread here explaining exactly how this all works. So definitely go give this a read as well. I'll link this in the YouTube description below. But yeah, it's probably interesting to you because, I mean, I guess all of us are into zero knowledge proofs at this point, into ZK tech, and we want to learn more about that there. All right, so I spoke a bit about speculation, gambling in yesterday's episode in the context of Friends.Tech, and I put another tweet out today because I woke up and I was kind of thinking, I was scrolling through Twitter and I was kind of thinking to myself, reflecting on a lot of the conversations that I had yesterday with people around speculation and gambling, whether that be on Twitter or on the Discord channel, and a lot of the stuff that I said on the video yesterday. And I thought to myself, you know what, DeFi summer was pretty much this. And I put out a tweet today where I said, a lot of what happened in DeFi summer was speculative, or basically gambling with many people getting wrecked. But it pushed the industry forward and showed everyone the real power of finance built on crypto rails. I'm a strong believer that we can harness this degeneracy for good. Now, you guys know the slogan that I use all the time, turning degens into regens when it comes to things like public goods funding. But it's not just limited to that. Degeneracy, I guess, like as a concept within crypto, is very subjective, right? Like you may not consider something that someone does to be, a degen behavior, but someone else may consider it that. But if we want to just look at something that most people agree on as being degen behavior, we can say stuff like gambling or like just pure speculation for speculation's sake. Things like meme coins, things like Rollbit, right? That casino, that literal casino, right? On-chain casino. These purely speculative things, right? Those things, while, as I said, purely speculative or gambling, can still be harnessed. That degeneracy can still be harnessed for good in various different ways. I think when it came to DeFi Summer, what ended up happening was that we had liquidity mining, we had yield farming, we had tokens launching, and that brought a lot of money on chain. And that also basically showed a lot of people who weren't paying attention to DeFi before that, because DeFi wasn't new in DeFi Summer in 2020. DeFi had been around for quite a while, actually. On Ethereum, really, I mean, DeFi had been around since 2017 with the likes of Ether Delta and Maker going live in its original fashion there. But it's not until 2020, or the mid-2020, that a lot of people outside of the Ethereum bubble started understanding it, started getting it, because they started using it. They brought their liquidity on chain. They understood that, yes, okay, a lot of it was speculative, but these were new rails being built. These were new rails to do finance on, essentially. And that's since then, that's what a lot of the ecosystem around DeFi has been building towards, basically improving that infrastructure, making it less speculative and more, I guess, like more focused on everyday financial applications, right? Like payments and things like that. And I think the same is true for any other application that exists within Ethereum or crypto generally. Obviously, when it comes to like on-chain casinos, they're not going to be, pushing anything forward in terms of DeFi or in terms of anything that is non-speculative. By their very nature, a casino will always be speculative. But what it does in that context is that it basically shows people, okay, well, we can have casinos on-chain now, like literal casinos, not things that just look like gambling, but literal casinos on-chain, and they work, and we can make them better. Like, I'm not endorsing Rollbit here. I don't really know anything about it. I've seen people write tweets about it and write threads about it, whatever. But the idea of building like an on-chain casino or on-chain lotteries, that's just going to happen, right? That's going to happen, and it's going to be built out, and there's going to be more and more of that stuff going on. It's not new, but it's definitely going to happen, right? So in that context, those things kind of push that industry forward, or that part of the industry forward. Same thing with like Friends.Tech, for example, not to rehash what I said yesterday, but I spoke about the tech stack that it's built on, right? I know it's not a brand new tech stack. PWAs are not new, right? Having apps that exist outside of the App Store isn't new. Friends.Tech as a concept isn't even new. We had BitClout before, right? Layer 2s are not new. But what Friends.Tech does is it shows people the possibilities here. It gets people on chain. Like, I've been hammering on for ages about layer 2s, and to see people finally bridging to them and enjoying their time on them makes me really, really happy. And that's what gets me most excited about it. And I think that even though Friends.Tech is probably just going to be some speculative thing that might not last very long, to be honest, it has a very high chance of not lasting very long at all. It's going to lead to more innovation, I believe, and it's going to push the industry forward. So that's why I think that when you just look at the speculation and the gambling in kind of, I guess, in a vacuum or in kind of like a bubble, you miss the forest for the trees, as I like to say, right? Because there are things that push the industry forward, and a lot of the time they do take the form of speculation, of gambling, but as long as there, in my mind, there is a net positive or a net good that comes out of it, I think that that is good overall for the ecosystem. But as I said, I'm not endorsing any of these things personally. I'm not putting my weight behind things that I don't believe in. When it came to Friends.Tech, it was just like a fun little thing for me to play around with. And as I've said plenty of times on the refuel, don't play around with it if you don't know what you're doing. And I also donated everything that I made to public goods because I didn't want to profit off of that at all, really. I mean, I saw the trading phase, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just profiting off of like pure speculation and gambling here. I don't feel comfortable doing this. So how do I harness this and do whatever with it in the most kind of like fair way possible? And I just donated to the Protocol Guild. You guys know I love to do that. So yeah. But anyway, enough about that. Enough about me on that note. I know you guys have your own opinions on this sorts of stuff. You don't have to agree with me on this sorts of stuff. But generally, when it comes to crypto, speculation, gambling, that's just going to be here forever, right? And I mean, it's not just crypto, it's just humans in general. The amount of, I guess, countries around the world that have tried to ban gambling or regulate gambling, it always just moves underground if you do that. And it's kind of funny, some of the lengths that countries go to in order to, I guess, like control gambling, or at least kind of put up the veil that they're trying to control it. I know that in Japan, I think this is how you say it, the pachinko kind of machines are very popular. And basically, gambling is technically illegal or something. So you basically play the machines in one building, and then in order to get your winnings, you have to go to a different building. So there's like that separation there. But that is like regulation theater. It doesn't really make much sense. So as much as you would like, as much as people like don't like gambling, don't like speculation, and maybe governments want to ban it or try to ban it, it's not going to work, right? It's definitely not going to work because it just pushes it underground. And at the end of the day, people are always going to find a way to speculate and gamble no matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's a stock market, casino, crypto, people love doing it. And that's just the way it is, right? And as a related note here to the Friends.Tech stack, Nicholas put out a great kind of tweet today about the crypto app stack that is now here. So the features include an instant install, so that basically the installing that app outside of the App Store, one-click transactions because of the Privy wallet infrastructure that is being used by Friends.Tech. Notifications on iOS and Android, cheap L2 transactions, your keys, your crypto, because the Privy wallet is non-custodial, secure cloud backup with Apple account recovery, and no App Store limitations. And he's also calling this the PEPS stack, which is PWA or progressive web apps with mobile notifications, embedded wallet or account abstraction signing permission, pass keys with end-to-end encrypted backup, and single sign-on with Apple, Google, Facebook, or SMS here. So this is exactly the stuff that we need for mass adoption, guys. I know, as I've said before, the UX of Friends.Tech is still quite clunky, but it's better than what we're used to. And if we keep iterating on that, it's going to push the industry forward. It's going to get us to a point where we can get to that 1 to 2 click app experience that I've been talking about for a while on the Refuel. And again, this is what gets me excited, because we are not going to be able to level up this industry and reach a new audience without doing this. Because I think each bull cycle, we kind of saturate the amount of people that we can reach in terms of like bringing them on chain, and then we need to build out during the bear market in order to level up the amount of people that we can onboard again and get on chain again. So that's exactly what's going to happen. This is all going to lead to better apps being built, more user-friendly apps being built. The UI UX is going to get so much better. And then by the time the next bull market rolls around, I think we're going to have like a really nice, robust set of apps and ecosystem for people to play around with in a much easier way than they would have in the past. And until that stops happening every cycle, I will be bullish on crypto, because I just love seeing all the innovations happening, all the things that push the industry forward and push things forward to the point of just onboarding more people. Because let's just say there's 1 million people using on-chain products today, which, I mean, I think that might be a bit high, but let's just, for argument's sake, say it's 1 million. Can we 10x that? Can we 100x that in the next bull market? Probably not 100x. That's a tall order, but potentially we can 10x that, and we can get 10 million people using on-chain products and having a great experience doing so. And if we do that, if we 10x it each and every bull market, you know, maybe in the next 15, 20 years, we've onboarded the majority of the world, which would be awesome, because that would be relatively fast. It would have taken us 30, 35 years to go from nothing to a booming industry that has replaced traditional finance, and everyone is using crypto rails and for different things, whether it be finance or other things. I think that is the success case there. But obviously a lot of building to do, a lot of work to do, and I'll let you guys kind of comment on that if you would like. Feel free to comment on YouTube, but in the Discord channel if you want to as well. We can have deeper conversations about that there. All right, last up here, just a nice little thread from Connext describing what Superfluid is doing with their cross-chain streams. So they said here, built with Connext's SDK, users can stream money to a bridge contract on a network and then receive a stream from a bridge contract on a different networks. So you can transfer value every second between chains. This is really cool. And I've talked about these cross-chain applications that can be built with Connext before and with their stack before. So essentially, just to give you a concrete example of what this would look like, you could stream money to someone from Arbitrum, right? But then it pays out to them on Optimism because you're using this bridge to stream that money. So this is I guess, like, again, another app that can, or another, I guess, like, a piece of infrastructure that can abstract away that fragmentation of liquidity that we've been talking about a lot for years now within the ecosystem. And this is the sort of stuff that makes it so that we can have that seamless experience for people when they onboard, to basically stop them from having to choose which network to go to, and they just basically, which network to go to based on liquidity and stuff like that, and they just go wherever they want to go, wherever the app is, and then eventually we get to a point where they don't even have to choose the network. The interface itself will actually just choose the network for you, depending on what you want to do, depending on which app you're using. And Connext is definitely at the heart of this with their cross-chain applications here, and it was just cool to see that they highlighted Superfluid and how this could work, because I guess, like, asset streaming is something that I still think is very underexplored, and doing it in an automated way was quite difficult on L1 because the gas fees were so high. So obviously doing it in L2 and even at L3, where the gas fees are basically negligible, is a much better way to do it, because you can do automated streaming, and then you could potentially have it so that it actually pays out any gas fees out of the streamed funds, and have it all automated in the back end, and the user just gets the money deposited into their account. Sort of like what happens with the Stripe payouts right now from Twitter. It's kind of funny because I'm signed up for Twitter payments for, like, what their ad sharing or whatever it is, and I got paid a bit into my Stripe account. It's taken like 4 days, and I still haven't got the money, by the way, which is just TradFi, right, in a nutshell. But essentially, it's the same thing where they've just sent me the money. It's going through those systems. I'm not paying any kind of fees for it, and it just lands in my account. If we can do the same thing with crypto rails, that is a huge level up, and that is the step to get us towards people putting, like, payrolls on crypto rails, people doing more commerce related stuff on crypto rails, and beginning to replace that kind of use case that the traditional finance seems to have a monopoly on at this point there. But anyway, you can check out this Connext thread. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, last up here, just a shout out. I'm going to be at another meetup in Melbourne this week. This is going to be at Upside DAO in Cremorne. You can just check out this tweet. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. The tickets are sold out, unfortunately, so I'm just highlighting it here because if you did get if you did manage to get a ticket, I will definitely be there. I'm going to be talking all things Ethereum. I think I'm going to be answering questions as well again. So yeah, I'm hoping to see a lot of you guys there. This one is being co-run by Stables. Stables is an app that you can download on your phone that lets you basically spend, send, and earn with stablecoins. I actually recommend going and downloading that app if stablecoins is something that you usually play around with. It's very smooth. I actually really like the app myself there, and that's not a paid endorsement or anything like that. That's just me saying that because I downloaded the app after the meetup I went to last week. I actually wasn't aware of this app. I downloaded it after the meetup I went to last week, and I was really blown away by just how smooth it is. So yeah, you can go check that out for yourself if you would like, and I hope to see a bunch of you at this meetup in Melbourne on Thursday night. But on that note, that's going to be it for today. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.